Rimuru into the Wonderful World. A Tensura times Konosuba crossover. By Tempest Moon. What if Rimuru, after the Great War had finally come to an end, found himself completely consumed by boredom? With no remaining threats, no urgent crises, and nothing fun left to occupy his time, the slime grew restless. Seeking something new, Rimuru decided to explore the endless wonders of the cosmos. As he journeyed across vast and unknown realms, a single, peculiar world caught his attention. There, amidst the chaotic and unpredictable nature of its inhabitants, a few specific individuals managed to truly intrigue him. And so begins the journey of a bored, almighty slime into a completely different, wonderful world. Prologue. Third-person POV. In the central world, there was a being with so much power he even surpassed the power of its creator. This being possessed many different titles. Some called him the King of Monsters, the Great Demon Lord, or Chaos Creator. They said that he was a kind-hearted person who liked to help people and monsters with open arms, but was heartless and cruel to those who dared cause harm to his comrades and friends. This person's name was Rimuru Tempest. Even with his manly soul, his physical appearance surpassed even the goddess of beauty. With long silvery blue hair, soft smooth white skin, and a face that was unmatched, no one was able to rival his divine beauty. Yet, despite his godly power, Rimuru Tempest was currently facing the single greatest nemesis of his life, paperwork. Rimuru POV. There are still so many. Even though I already spent 6 hours doing this, I sighed, staring at the massive pile of paperwork in front of me. Hey Sile, do you mind helping me for a bit? I really can't take it anymore, I begged Sile, feeling like I was about to lose my mind. Master should do his job. This is the punishment you get for causing trouble by pranking your subordinates, Sile replied. But what I did was just a prank. I didn't mean any harm, and I even fixed everything to apologize. I protested. Even so, you must still do this job. Or would you prefer that I call Shuna? Sile countered. Sile, you're so cruel. Why would you even do that to me? Fine, I'll finish this alone, I said in a dramatic, sad voice, hoping she would show a little sympathy. That won't work on me, Master. However, after you finish, I might let you have some fun later. Really, Sile? All right. I'll finish this in no time, I declared with excitement. I found a world that Master will surely enjoy, Sile added. Oh, that sounds interesting. I can't wait to go there, I said, picking up the pace on my work. My main duty was to approve or disapprove official projects submitted by the citizens. It was crucial work because some requests were completely out of line, and I couldn't simply leave the final decisions to my subordinates. A few hours later, as I was nearly finished, Shuna entered my office carrying a tray of snacks. Here are your snacks, Lord Rimuru. I made your favorite, Shuna said gently, setting the food on the table. Oh, chocolate cake. Thank you, Shuna, I said, taking a bite. By the way, Lord Rimuru, have you decided what to do with the request from King Gazelle? He sent one of his envoys to receive your answer. That old man sure is getting impatient. Well, I suppose it's understandable now that so many nations are eager to acquire our technology. After the Great War ended, almost every known country tried to establish friendly relations with Tempest and requested an official alliance. I generally accepted those requests under fair conditions, which made daily operations even more hectic than before. Please tell his representative that it will take a few months before I release the final product. Until then, ask them to wait just a little longer. As you wish, my lord, Shuna replied before bowing and leaving the office. Once I finished eating, I brought up Sile's earlier promise. So Sile, about this other world, is there anything interesting there? According to my analysis, this world was once ruled by a demon king who was feared across the land. Many humans attempted to eradicate his army until one day, someone successfully killed the Demon King and was hailed as a hero. A Demon King, who? Is he strong? I asked, curious about the local power scaling. Compared to Master, he is merely an ant. However, by the standards of that world, his strength was notable. I see. And what about the hero who managed to kill him? Are they strong? I would advise Master not to ask too many questions, as it would ruin the fun. Okay, if you say so. Let's leave a clone here so no one gets suspicious, I said. Understood. Activating ultimate skill, Void God Azathoth. Using time warp and space domination. Creating parallel existence. Would you like to continue? Yes, I replied, and in an instant, my journey to another world began. While traveling through space, Sile's voice suddenly echoed in an alarming tone. Alert! Detecting massive disturbance in space. Further analysis is required. Who? Sile? What's going on? I panicked slightly. Analysis successful. Activating multidimensional barrier. Detecting threats, no threats found. Well, that was scary. Sile, what was that? It appears something managed to follow us into the gap between spaces, though it lost our trail and failed to penetrate our barrier. Knowing something actually tracked us gave me a brief scare, but Sile's reassurance quickly put my mind at ease. That's good news. What kind of entity was it? It appears to be a space energy creature, though it lacks an ego, much like Charybdis. Interesting. Have you analyzed its properties? Affirmative. It is similar to stardust energy, though inferior due to simultaneous spatial fluctuations. That's a relief. How long until we arrive? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I opened my eyes to reveal a vast green landscape with wide open fields. Looking off into the distance, I spotted a town up ahead and decided to head straight toward it. I wonder what kind of experiences await me in this world, I muttered, smiling at the possibilities. Chapter 1, Meeting with a Stranger. Kazuma POV. My name is Seitu Kazuma. I died and got reincarnated into another world, though I have no intention of explaining how I died because it was stupid and embarrassing. When I died, I met a goddess named Aqua. Even though she was technically a deity, I could never view her as one. It would be a total insult to actual goddesses everywhere. Right now, I am living in my mansion in the town of Axel alongside 3 other people. They're my party members, and for the most part, I enjoy living my life to the fullest without a care in the world. All I wanted was to sleep in and relax, until... Kazuma! Kazuma! There it was, the most irritating voice imaginable, first thing in the morning. The wine I saved is gone. Did you take it? Aqua whined loudly. I had totally forgotten. I drank it last night while partying, not that I was ever going to admit that to her. Go away, Aqua. I'm trying to sleep, I groaned, trying to push her away. You drank it, didn't you? You didn't even deny it. Pay me back, you stupid NEET. Aqua yelled, grabbing me by the shirt. Hey, cut it out. Are you trying to kill me? Her grip was absurdly strong for someone throwing a tantrum. I'll do worse if you don't pay me back and apologize, she threatened. I managed to break free, catching my breath while glaring at her. Is that a threat? Get lost before I fry your stupid chicken. Don't you dare insult Emperor Zell. He is a majestic baby dragon, and one day he will rule all dragons, she yelled, striking a ridiculous pose. Whatever. As for your wine, fine, I drank it. I'll buy you another one when we go to the guild later. You must pay me triple for the inconvenience, she demanded. On second thought, forget it. Kiss your bottle goodbye, you greedy idiot. She lunged at me again, forcing me to sprint downstairs to escape the crazy alcoholic. In the dining area, Megumin and Darkness were already sitting at the table. Morning, you two, I said. They both stared at me with blank expressions. I see you had plenty of fun last night without us, Megumin said flatly. Wait, are they mad because I went out drinking without them? Fine, fine. After we visit the guild, we can grab a nice meal together, I offered, trying to diffuse the tension. That sounds wonderful. It has been a while since we all went out, Darkness admitted, looking over at Megumin. Do you promise, Kazuma? Megumin asked with hopeful eyes. Before I could answer, someone tackled me from behind. Naturally, it was Aqua, still furious about her wine. I'm going to end you, she shrieked, squeezing my throat. Can't breathe, help. I wheezed, calling out to the other two. Darkness and Megumin finally stepped in, pulling Aqua off me and holding her back. Geez, Aqua, that's enough. You can't do that to Kazuma. He doesn't like being choked, though I certainly wouldn't mind, Darkness mumbled, blushing. I chose to ignore that last comment. Between an alcoholic goddess, a masochist knight who can't hit a target, and a mage who faints after one spell a day, my party was a complete mess. Yet somehow, we had defeated several Demon King generals and even the Demon King himself, making us famous adventurers. All right, Aqua, I'm sorry. I'll buy you the exact same wine later, nothing more, got it? I said sternly. Aqua huffed, silenced by Megumin's sharp glance. Fine. But you better keep your word. I will. Now let's gear up and head to the guild. Rimuru POV. Master, I am going to seal 99.9% of your power, Sile informed me. Who? Why? I asked in surprise. Because Master's power is so immense that your natural aura alone could accidentally collapse this world. Well, that would definitely ruin my vacation. Is it safe to seal that much? There is no issue. Even at 0.1% capacity, your strength is more than sufficient to handle disaster-rank threats, though it is unlikely you will encounter any here. You sound pretty confident, Sile. It is merely your imagination. There's Sile's classic line again. Anyway, Sile, can you recreate the anti-magic mask Shizue wore? Easily, Master. In a flash of light, the familiar mask materialized in my hand. I slipped it on to prevent people from staring at my face. After walking for a bit, I arrived at the town gates. A local confirmed this was Axel, a town known for beginner adventurers. I wandered through the streets until I located the Adventurers Guild and stepped inside. Third-person POV. As Rimuru entered the guild hall, nearly every adventurer stopped to stare, including Kazuma's party. Because of his long silvery blue hair and petite frame, most assumed he was an incredibly attractive girl. Rimuru POV. Man, why do I always get stared at? I complained internally, walking up to the main counter. I asked the receptionist about registering as an adventurer, but she explained there was a mandatory registration fee. Oh no, I don't have local currency. Sile, what should I do? Do not worry, Master. I can replicate the local currency instantly. Before I could finalize the process, a flashy adventurer approached me with an unpleasant smile. Hey there, beautiful. What's a girl like you doing here all alone? He asked smoothly. I ignored him and backed away, deciding I could just handle things on my own without registering. But as I turned to leave, he grabbed my wrist. Leaving so soon? Come on, I can show you a good time, he grinned. I shoved his hand off, keeping my distance. Hey! How do you turn me down? Don't you know who I am? You should be grateful I even noticed you, he shouted. Master, if you permit it, I would like to erase this human and subject his soul to eternal torment, Sile stated calmly. No, no, please don't do that. I quickly calmed Sile down. I didn't want to cause a massive scene, so I turned toward the exit. As I did, I noticed a familiar divine presence near the corner of the room, a blue-haired girl sitting at a table. Sile, who is that? I asked. Her name is Aqua. She is the goddess of water. I was genuinely surprised. A goddess? Is she powerful? In terms of physical strength, she is fairly average. However, her divine magic is authentic. Her main flaw is her limited intellectual capacity. Wow, Sile, savage response to someone I haven't even met yet. Heh. Did you just chuckle? No. It is your imagination, Master. Right. But why is a goddess living in the mortal realm? Goddesses can enter the mortal realm using disguises, but her situation appears to be unique. Unique how? No spoilers, Master. Fine, keep your secrets. Leaving the loud adventurer behind, I walked out of the guild to explore the rest of Axel. Kazuma POV. We were sitting at our usual table in the guild, enjoying our meal, when an unfamiliar figure walked in. She wore a dark outfit topped with a white cape, but the most eye-catching detail was the unique mask covering her face. Everyone in the guild was staring at her. She walked up to the counter to register, but after a moment, she seemed to realize she didn't have any money. Before I could offer to help, a pick-up artist approached her. She clearly wasn't interested and pushed him away. Kazuma, there's something strange about her, Aqua whispered. What do you mean? I asked. Normally, I can sense if someone is an angel, a human, or a demon, but I can't sense any presence from her at all. If Aqua was saying that seriously, it meant the newcomer was anything but ordinary. Shortly after, the masked stranger walked out of the guild, leaving the pickup artist fuming. 2 days later. 2 days had passed since that encounter. My party was out in the fields taking on a basic elimination quest. Ever since we defeated the Demon King, monster activity had dropped significantly, but we still did quests to stay active. Help me, Kazuma! Aqua screamed, running for her life as a giant toad hopped right behind her. Hang in there! I yelled, drawing my bow and taking aim at the toad's eye. My shot hit, but it wasn't enough to stop the monster. Within seconds, Aqua, Megumin, and Darkness were all caught and swallowed up to their waists by separate giant toads. Kazuma! Save us! Aqua sobbed. Go, Kazuma! Live on and remember me! Megumin cried out icily. Ah! Kazuma, forget about me and save yourself. Darkness gasped, looking far too pleased with the situation. These three were hopeless. My bow wasn't doing enough damage, and my sword wasn't strong enough to cut through 3 giant toads before they got swallowed entirely. Suddenly, a figure stepped out from the tall grass. It was the masked person from the guild. Hey kid, need some help? She asked calmly. Kid? She was visibly shorter than me. I made a mental note to complain about that later, but right now, my team needed help. Yeah. Anything you can do would be great. She didn't draw a weapon. She simply looked at the 3 giant toads, raised her hand, and snapped her fingers. Instantly, all 3 toads exploded into clear mist, dropping my covered party members onto the grass safely. Aqua, Megumin, and Darkness came running over, sobbing in relief. Once they caught their breath, they looked over at our savior. Okay, I take back what I thought earlier. She was absurdly powerful, and I definitely didn't want to get on her bad side. Thank you for saving my party, I said politely. May I ask your name? Sure, no problem. My name is Rimuru Tempest. But you can just call me Rimuru. I'm not a bad slime, you know. I held back a laugh. Wait, that line. That was from a famous game back in Japan. Based on your reaction, you recognize that phrase, Rimuru said, her tone turning playful. Yeah, it's from a game back in my original world. How do you know that? The answer is simple, I'm from Japan, too. My jaw dropped. Another reincarnate from Japan. Rimuru-san, would you join us for dinner back at our place? It's the least we can do to thank you. Sure, I'd love to, Rimuru agreed pleasantly. Kazuma POV. Back at the mansion, Rimuru sat on the couch while the rest of us cleaned off the toad slime. After changing into clean clothes, I walked into the living room. Rimuru-san, can I get you something to drink? A cup of tea would be nice, thanks. I went to the kitchen to prepare tea, only to realize our fridge was completely empty. I walked back out where Darkness, Megumin, and Aqua were already chatting with Rimuru. Bad news, guys. We're completely out of food here. We could go grocery shopping, but it'll take hours before dinner is ready. That's fine, Darkness suggested. We can just eat at the Adventurers Guild tonight. Sounds good to me, I agreed, and we all headed back toward the guild hall. At the guild, we claimed a large table near the center of the hall and placed our order. As we waited, Rimuru reached up and unclasped his anti-magic mask. When the mask came off, the entire guild went silent. Rimuru possessed ethereal beauty, long, shimmering silvery blue hair and golden eyes that seemed to shine with otherworldly light. Everyone in the room, including Aqua, was completely mesmerized. Noticing the stares, Rimuru cleared his throat slightly. Before we continue, I should probably mention that I'm actually a guy. The entire room froze. Rimuru, are you serious? I yelled in disbelief. How could a face like that belong to a guy? Darkness slumped over the table, Megumin froze mid-bite, and Aqua's brain seemed to short-circuit entirely. Half the adventurers in the guild fainted on the spot. Awkwardly, Rimuru placed his mask back over his face. I apologize for our reaction, I said quickly, feeling guilty. We were just completely caught off guard. It's fine, I get that a lot, Rimuru replied with a light chuckle. Technically, I'm genderless, but I mentally identify as a guy. Once everyone recovered, my party apologized for staring, except for Aqua. This is ridiculous. Aqua snapped, slamming her hands on the table. How can a guy be more beautiful than a literal goddess like me? Aqua, cut it out! I scolded her sternly. It's not his fault. Darkness nodded in agreement. Kazuma is right, Aqua. You shouldn't insult our guest. It really doesn't bother me, Rimuru said smoothly, taking a sip of tea. Seeing an opportunity, I leaned forward. Hey Rimuru, were you planning on joining the guild? I tried to the other day, but I didn't have the local currency on me at the time. In that case, would you like to join our party? I asked directly. The surrounding adventurers glared at me in envy, realizing I was trying to recruit such a powerful newcomer. Rimuru thought for a moment. I wouldn't mind, as long as your party members are okay with it. I'm all for it, Darkness said warmly. Megumin nodded in agreement. Aqua puffed out her cheeks. Fine. You can join, but you have to do whatever I say and give me 90% of your quest rewards. Ignore her, she's an idiot, I interjected immediately. You'll be a full, equal member of the team. Rimuru laughed softly. I gladly accept your offer, Kazuma, on your terms, not hers. Aqua pouted in the corner while Rimuru and I shook hands to seal the deal. With a legendary figure like Rimuru joining our squad, life in Axel was about to get a whole lot more interesting. Chapter 2, New Adventure. Kazuma POV. There's no way Rimuru is a boy, right? Right. As I sat there watching our new party member eat, I was completely convinced that Rimuru was a girl. Her physical appearance alone was feminine enough to surpass even the beauty of Aqua. Comparing anyone to Aqua feels a little rude to them, but honestly, if Aqua would just keep her mouth shut, she might actually look as majestic as a goddess is supposed to be. I watched Rimuru happily enjoying the food. Her expression was so peaceful and soothing that I couldn't help but stare. Man, I sure got lucky recruiting her to this party. At least now we have one normal, highly capable member who can actually carry their own weight. I scooped a bite of meat into my mouth while gazing at Rimuru, who was still smiling gently as she ate. Hey Darkness, do you want to help me later when we head home? My little bubble of imagination was suddenly popped by Megumin's voice, which sounded overly cheerful for some reason. Sure. What are we doing? Darkness asked, looking confused by Megumin's sudden request. Oh, nothing in particular. I just want you to help me get home afterward. You see, I would really love to use my explosion magic tonight. She wants to cast explosion magic at night. I couldn't help but feel concerned, so I immediately stepped in. If you do that, you'll attract the attention of the city guards. I just want to head straight home. Besides, we still need to welcome Rimuru-san to the mansion properly. Instead of agreeing with my reasonable point, I received a cold glare from Megumin. Shut up, pervert Kazuma. Anyway, Darkness, you'll help me, right? I want to blow up Kazuma later. Hold up. Wait a minute. What? What are you talking about? You're scaring me. I panicked, sensing zero sarcasm in her voice. What did I even do to deserve getting blown up? I understand why you want to blast Kazuma trash, but please refrain for now, Darkness said, trying to calm Megumin down. I don't want Rimuru-san to see how disgraceful our group is because of Kazuma trash foolish behavior. Fortunately, Darkness managed to talk Megumin down, but I was deeply offended by that nickname. My reputation in the guild was already in the gutter, and I couldn't let them destroy my image even further in front of Rimuru. Rimuru-san, please don't mind my teammates, I said smoothly. They are usually very civilized and polite, so please ignore their remarks. Remarks about you? Rimuru asked. Her quick response shattered my heart into pieces. I could already see my remaining reputation crumbling into dust. Yes, that's part of it, I mumbled. My team showered me with disgusted glares, but I didn't even have the energy to care. That's some big talk coming from a stupid NEET. Aqua interjected loudly. Need I remind you that the only uncivilized person here is you? You spend your nights hanging out at the succubus shop even though you have a lover. Disgusting. How can you stare at another woman right in front of your own girlfriend? One after another, Aqua and Megumin kicked my reputation all the way to the curb. But I wasn't going down without a fight, especially when an idiot goddess was trying to stomp on my name. Are you finished? I snapped back. Because if you are, it's my turn. Who was the one who came crying to me last week with snot flying out of her nose like a tightrope? Aqua looked like she was on the verge of tears, while Darkness and Megumin stared at me with pure disgust. Rimuru, on the other hand, just looked completely bewildered by the whole scene, her face showing genuine concern. Realizing how chaotic things had gotten, I cut off the fighting and offered Rimuru a way out. Rimuru-san, would you like to step outside for a breath of fresh air? There's something I'd like to discuss with you. Sure, but what about them? Rimuru asked. Oh, they'll be fine. As I started to stand up, Megumin grabbed my arm so hard I thought my shoulder dislocated. So that's why you invited her? Megumin shouted. You want to replace me with her? What are you talking about? How did you even reach that conclusion? I yelled back. All of you were shouting and making Rimuru-san uncomfortable. As the party leader, I just wanted to ease her worries. Megumin clearly didn't believe me, and frankly, I wouldn't have believed it either. It was a total excuse to get some quiet time with Rimuru. First of all, I thought I made it clear that I'm a guy, Rimuru interrupted smoothly. And second, now that we're done eating, would you mind showing me the guild registration desk? All of us turned to look at Rimuru, and the chaotic atmosphere instantly vanished at the sound of his voice. Right. No problem at all. Isn't that right, guys? I asked my team. Everyone agreed, and thankfully, things went smoothly after that. Rimuru received his official adventurer card, and his base stats were abnormally high, which was fantastic news for our party. Still, he was really sticking to that story about being a guy, wasn't he? I didn't believe it for a second. I refused to accept that someone with a face that beautiful could actually be a guy. But if it was true, then this world was truly unfair. Feeling thoroughly disheartened, I slouched as we walked back to the mansion, my arms swinging like lifeless pieces of meat. Hey, are you okay? You look pale, Rimuru asked, walking beside me. No, I'm fine. Just a little lightheaded, that's all, I replied. Okay, if you say so. Damn it. How could someone look so cute and pretty while showing genuine concern for me? I was secretly enjoying the attention, but my moment of happiness was cut short when a wooden staff violently slammed into my kneecap. Ow! That hurt. What was that for? I yelled, clutching my knee. You idiot! You keep staring at Rimuru-san like a total creep. Megumin shouted, pouting furiously. Oh. Megumin was angry. Better avoid pushing her buttons any further. I'm sorry, okay? I'm just curious about him, I explained, though it didn't seem to calm her down. Curious enough to ignore your own girlfriend? Megumin retorted. Rimuru already said he's a guy. Oh? Is Kazuma interested in guys now too? Aqua chimed in, laughing hysterically. You really have no shame at all. Ha ha ha. That's enough, Aqua, that isn't very nice, Darkness added, stepping in. Kazuma may have terrible manners, no reputation, and an irredeemable personality, but he is still our leader. That's not helping. I yelled. Rimuru watched the interaction with a polite smile, though I was 100% sure he was deeply regretting joining our group. Please don't leave the party. Please don't leave until I confirm the truth with my own eyes. If Rimuru really is a guy, I need absolute proof. But if it's just a cover story, then everything is fine. You guys are really fun to be around, Rimuru commented with a gentle smile. What a lively group. That warm, genuine smile immediately silenced the group, instantly dissipating the chaotic tension. Taking advantage of the quiet, I stepped up as the responsible party leader and struck up a conversation. So, Rimuru-san, how old are you? Smack! Why on earth would you ask something like that? Aqua shouted, punching the back of my head. It is common courtesy to never ask a woman her age. Darkness added sternly. You're unbelievable. Trying to hit on someone right in front of me. Megumin delivered the final blow. Just kill me now. Why did I even ask? I glanced over at Rimuru, who was giving a nervous, wry smile. Realizing I had messed up completely, I kept my mouth shut until we reached the mansion. Here we are. As the party leader, I officially welcome you to your new home, I said, opening my arms dramatically. Rimuru nodded appreciatively, and we gave him a full tour of the house. We led him upstairs to one of the guest rooms and opened the door. This will be your room, Rimuru-san. It's a bit simple, but I hope you like it. The room was furnished with a bed, a wardrobe, a desk, and a couple of chairs. Rimuru looked genuinely pleased. This is great. Thank you everyone for welcoming me into your group. I'll do my absolute best to prove my worth. We left Rimuru to settle in, and I retired to my own room. It was already late, so I fell straight onto my mattress. Even though our party was a mess, Rimuru seemed like a genuinely good person. At least, I really hoped so. Megumin POV. Kazuma. Kazuma. I quietly opened Kazuma's bedroom door and slipped inside without making a sound. He was snoring loudly with one leg hanging awkwardly off the side of the bed. I poked his shoulder, but he didn't budge. He just kept snoring and scratched his stomach. He was fast asleep. Honestly, why did I have to fall in love with this idiot? As I stared at his sleeping face, Kazuma suddenly blinked his eyes open, looking completely confused. Good morning, I said softly. It's still dark out, he grunted, rubbing his eyes. That's for tomorrow, dummy. Oh. Without thinking, I slapped his cheek out of pure embarrassment. Ouch! What is wrong with you doing that in the middle of the night? Kazuma groaned, holding his red cheek while I pouted and looked away. If you have a problem, tell me in the morning, Kazuma muttered, rolling over. My brain still can't process the idea that someone that pretty is actually a guy, and it's driving me crazy. He closed his eyes again. I stood there quietly for a few seconds before speaking up. Kazuma, what if? I hesitated, struggling to put my thoughts into words while looking at his back. What if he really was a girl? I didn't necessarily expect an answer. In fact, I half hoped he wouldn't reply at all. But it was a thought that had been bothering me all evening. So what? Kazuma answered suddenly. He sat up on his bed and looked at me with an exhausted expression. Is that really bothering you? No. Why would it bother me? I snapped quickly, crossing my arms. Then why did you wake me up in the middle of the night? Kazuma complained, throwing his hands up. I was fast asleep, dreaming that Rimuru-san and I were hanging out on a tropical island. A dark smile formed across my face. What was that? Kazuma noticed my expression and immediately went pale. Wait a minute. It was just a joke. What are you doing with that pillow? Die, pervert! I yelled, bringing the pillow down on his head and kicking him off the bed. Wait! Stop! I'm sorry. I only think about you, okay? Kazuma yelled, panicking. Before Rimuru showed up, you were the only one in my dreams. My face instantly flushed bright red. This absolute idiot, why did he have to say something like that out of nowhere? Out of sheer embarrassment, I threw the pillow at his face, gave him one last kick, and stormed out of the room, heading straight back to my own bed. Third-person POV. When morning arrived, everyone gathered in the dining area except for Kazuma, who was still sleeping in. Where is Kazuma? Is he still asleep? Rimuru asked. Yep. He's always like that, Megumin said with a yawn. I see. By the way, did you guys hear all that noise coming from upstairs last night? Rimuru asked. Megumin immediately looked away, whistling innocently. Darkness walked into the room at that moment and joined the conversation. Yes, I heard it too. It sounded like it was coming directly from Kazuma's room, Darkness noted, eyeing Megumin suspiciously. Wait, don't tell me you two were fighting in his room late at night. Darkness asked. We weren't doing anything weird. Megumin yelled, her entire face turning beet red. If anyone got hurt last night, it was him. He won't be waking up anytime soon. So you did do something. Ah. Why are you like this? The two began bickering back and forth, making enough noise to startle the party's cat, Chomasuke, who darted across the room. Rimuru watched the chaos with a polite smile, amused by their energy. So, what's the plan for breakfast? Rimuru asked. The two stopped arguing and turned toward him. Oh, we usually eat separately since everyone wakes up at different times, Darkness explained. Well, as your new teammate, I'd love to repay your hospitality by cooking for everyone today, Rimuru offered. Do you mind if I use the kitchen? Darkness looked surprised. You know how to cook, Rimuru? Yeah. I learned a while back, so I'm actually pretty good at it. That's great, Megumin mumbled quietly under her breath. Now Kazuma has even more reasons to prefer him over me. Please wait at the table for a moment while I prepare everything, Rimuru said cheerfully. He walked into the kitchen and gathered the available ingredients, deciding to make a simple breakfast of golden pancakes drizzled with honey, paired with warm tea. Rimuru POV. I finished plating the food. Honestly, my cooking skills are usually much better, but there weren't many ingredients left in the pantry. I carried the plates over to the table, and everyone immediately dug in. This is delicious. Simple, but really good, Darkness praised, taking a bite. Aqua joined us at the table, looking unusually hesitant for a moment before digging in, while Megumin practically devoured her pancake in one bite. Careful, don't choke, I said, smiling at Megumin. She really was cute when she wasn't blowing things up. Kazuma finally stumbled downstairs, looking thoroughly exhausted. I offered him a plate, which he gratefully devoured. Aqua chewed her food thoughtfully before staring directly at me. Hey, Rimuru, what are you, exactly? Everyone stopped eating and turned to look at Aqua. Sile, does she know something? I asked internally. Negative. There is zero probability that the individual named Aqua knows Master's true identity. However, she may harbor vague suspicions due to your divine energy signature. I let out a silent sigh of relief. What do you mean, Aqua? I asked calmly, offering her a polite smile. Never mind, Aqua grunted, dropping the subject and returning to her food. My identity was safe for now, but I needed to remain cautious around a literal goddess. She might act like a total airhead, but Sile confirmed her divine status, so I couldn't afford to lower my guard completely. After we finish breakfast, let's head to the guild and look for a quest, Kazuma suggested. Sounds good to me, I agreed. Kazuma stretched as he stood up. Who usually does the cooking around here anyway? I asked, looking around the room. It's usually me. In fact, it's almost always me, Kazuma sighed. Wow, so you really are a reliable party leader after all, I said, giving him a compliment. Kazuma's face lit up. Hee, of course I am. Though I have to give some credit to my team, even if they drive me crazy every single day. Tears of self-pity welled up in his eyes. What is that supposed to mean, you stupid NEET? Aqua shouted. All you do is sleep in. Says the goddess who drains our bank account to buy expensive alcohol. Kazuma shot back. Aqua looked like she had been shot through the heart, unable to deny the accusation. Hey, Kazuma, that's uncalled for. Darkness interjected sternly. Aqua may be a useless, booze-addicted airhead, but she still provides essential support to this team. Whose side are you on? Aqua shrieked. You just insulted me too. I couldn't help but smile at the chaos. This group was completely wild, but their dynamic was certainly more entertaining than sitting behind a desk reviewing paperwork all day. Shut up. Both of you. Kazuma yelled. If I could, I'd leave right now and go live with my little sister. Princess Iris is not your little sister. Darkness countered. She is a refined, majestic royal, the absolute opposite of you. Oh, so I'm not majestic? Kazuma barked. Well, look at you. The only thing going for you is your high defense, so don't make me come over there and break it. Darkness gasped, her cheeks flushing bright red as she looked strangely thrilled by the threat. This team was something else. All I wanted to know was who handled the cooking, and it somehow devolved into a full-scale argument where one person was crying, one was yelling, and the other was enjoying being insulted. Guys, please calm down, I said, stepping in. I just wanted to know how I can contribute to the team. You can serve as my loyal worshipper. Aqua proclaimed. Before I could even respond, Kazuma smacked Aqua over the head, sending her into a dramatic puddle of tears. Please ignore her, Rimuru-san, Kazuma said with a polite smile. As for what you can do, just do whatever you're comfortable with. All right, sounds good to me, I nodded. Megumin, who had been sitting quietly, finally spoke up. Kazuma, why did you accept Rimuru-san into the party so easily last night? And now you're letting him do whatever he wants? Doesn't that make our party look careless? She actually raised a valid point. Kazuma had invited me almost instantly without knowing much about my background. Kazuma sighed. To tell you the truth, when I saw Rimuru defeat those giant toads with a simple snap of his fingers, I realized how powerful he actually is. So he was impressed by that little display? I see. I figured having someone that's strong on our team would be a huge help, Kazuma added. Besides, he's new to adventuring in this area, right? That's true, I admitted with a chuckle. Though taking in a stranger could still be risky, couldn't it? Ha ha ha. Trust me, we've been through situations far worse than taking in a friendly newcomer. We'll be totally fine. Kazuma laughed off the concern. That's still not a proper explanation, Megumin pouted. You've never personally invited anyone else to join our party before. That's because nobody else wants to join us. Kazuma yelled back. Rimuru-san is the only exception. That's true, Darkness agreed solemnly. Nobody in their right mind would want to join a party led by a weak leader. If another party had invited me back then, I probably would have taken it. Hey! You didn't have a choice either. Kazuma pointed out. You're just as hopeless as the rest of us, actually, you're second only to Aqua. How dare you insult a goddess? Aqua yelled, lunging at Kazuma and wrapping her hands around his neck. Kazuma flailed around trying to pull her off. Seeing the two of them wrestling on the floor, I burst out laughing. Aqua stopped choking Kazuma and looked up. What's so funny? Nothing, I smiled genuinely. It's just obvious how close you all are. You really have an incredible bond. Aqua let go of Kazuma and sat back down, grumbling quietly. Well, as your newest member, I'll do my best to support everyone, I said, breaking the silence. I may be new to adventuring in this realm, but I'm looking forward to traveling with you all. I'm glad to hear it, Darkness said warmly. What about you, Megumin? Megumin sighed, turning to face me. I suppose it's fine. But let me make one thing clear. Regardless of whether you're a boy or a girl, I am Kazuma's official girlfriend, so don't try anything. I raised my hands defensively. You have nothing to worry about. I have zero intention of taking him from you. Kazuma blushed, while Darkness frowned slightly. That's quite a declaration, Megumin, Darkness remarked softly. You may be his girlfriend, but if an opportunity arises, I won't back down either. I won't let you. Megumin argued back. And just like that, another storm rolled in. Kazuma looked awkwardly pleased to have two girls arguing over him, even as he tried to play it cool. Sile, did I make the right choice joining this party? The probability of this decision leading to an entertaining outcome is 99%. That's reassuring, I guess. Time skip. After finishing breakfast and gearing up, we made our way to the Adventurers Guild. As expected, I drew plenty of stares from the crowd, but I ignored them and followed Kazuma to the quest board. Oh, look at this one! Megumin exclaimed, pointing to a poster. A dragon quest! It says a dragon rampaged near a neighboring town 3 days ago, and they're requesting high-level adventurers to hunt it down. I could totally blast it with my explosion magic. Are you crazy? Kazuma protested. We barely survived fighting the Demon King. There's no way we're fighting a living dragon head-on. Darkness frowned at Kazuma's reaction. We've gained plenty of experience over the years, Kazuma. A dragon hunt is a completely standard quest for experienced adventurers. Yeah, right, Kazuma scoffed. Says the knight who got swallowed whole by a toad 2 days ago. Megumin and Aqua glared at Kazuma, though Darkness just looked strangely pleased by the insult. We only got swallowed because we were actively fighting. Aqua barked. All you did was stand in the corner panicking. I was assessing the situation. Kazuma argued back. Charging in blindly without a plan is stupid, and you guys did it anyway, so don't put the blame on me. I sighed internally, watching my teammates argue like children over a basic quest. Whatever, coward, Aqua huffed. So what are we supposed to do then, Mr. Genius? Before Kazuma could reply, I stepped forward. We could try taking on the dragon. If we're talking about real adventuring, a dragon hunt feels like a classic milestone. Everyone turned to stare at me in surprise. Are you serious, Rimuru? Megumin asked, her eyes lighting up. Yeah. Facing a strong opponent sounds exciting. Besides, Darkness mentioned that you guys defeated the Demon King and his generals, so I'd love to see how impressive your party really is. Hearing my compliment, Aqua, Megumin, and Darkness immediately puffed up with pride. You hear that, Kazuma? Aqua taunted. How can we prove how awesome we are if our leader is a coward who runs from a fight? Kazuma threw his hands up in defeat. Fine. We'll accept the quest. But if anything goes wrong, don't come crying to me. As if anyone would ask a cowardly NEET for help, Aqua muttered under her breath. We finalized the quest paperwork at the counter and stepped out of the guild hall, ready to set off on our dragon hunt. Third-person POV. Kazuma's party stood near the edge of town, waiting for a hired carriage to arrive. Once it pulled up, the group loaded their gear and climbed inside to begin their journey toward the target area. As the carriage bounced along the dirt road, Kazuma and Aqua continued their endless bickering, while Megumin and Darkness sat quietly across from them. Rimuru leaned against the window frame, gazing out at the rolling hills of the new world and wondering how his friends back in Tempest were managing the nation without him. Sile, you really know how to make things interesting. This group might be chaotic, but their bond is genuinely unbreakable. Of course, Master. Everything is arranged for your enjoyment. I appreciate it. I wonder how this dragon hunt will go. It will certainly be an informative experience, Master. Rimuru smiled, looking forward to the adventure ahead. Chapter 3, First Battle with the Party. Kazuma POV. What a peaceful day. I hope nothing goes wrong from here on out. As our carriage headed toward our destination, everyone inside remained quiet, so I decided to break the silence. So, does anyone have an idea of what we should do once we arrive? I asked, looking around. What do you mean, Kazuma? Rimuru was the first to reply. Rimuru's face was undeniably beautiful, bathed in the soft sunlight streaming through the carriage window. I couldn't stop questioning whether Rimuru was actually a guy. As I lost myself in thought, I noticed my party members glaring at me with annoyed expressions. Is there something on my face? Rimuru asked. I snapped back to reality. Well, I'm just wondering what the plan is once we reach the quest location. I mean, we aren't just going to charge in without any preparation, right? What are you talking about? Megumin chimed in with a confident grin. Once we arrive, I am going to use my explosion magic and blast that dragon to pieces. I appreciate Megumin's confidence, and her explosion magic is genuinely powerful, but relying solely on a single spell is a huge gamble. If she misses, we're completely finished unless we get miraculously lucky. Sure, but we need a much more solid plan than just that, I said flatly. Because if that's all we've got, we might as well turn back to the guild right now. I agree with Kazuma, Rimuru added gently. Having a backup plan is much better if we want this mission to succeed. Is Rimuru an angel? That was my honest thought. I genuinely appreciated the support. So, what's the plan, Kazuma? Darkness asked, leaning forward. I had actually been thinking about this. When Princess Iris fought a dragon, she relied on high-tier divine power. Having that kind of firepower would be ideal, but reality is often disappointing when looking at my current team. Well, we should start with a distraction, I explained. Darkness, your skills draw enemy aggression easily, so you'll act as the decoy. As expected, Darkness looked visibly thrilled at the prospect of being targeted and attacked by a giant monster. And Aqua, you stay in the back and focus entirely on healing anyone who gets injured. Why do I have to stay in the back? Aqua complained immediately. I am a goddess. That dragon is no match for me. And once Emperor Zell grows up, no dragon will ever compare to him. This useless woman. What are you complaining for? I yelled back. We're dealing with a dragon, not a giant toad. If that monster swallows you, it's game over. Well, that's a big if, she huffed, crossing her arms arrogantly. Before I could grab her by the collar, Rimuru quickly stepped between us. Guys, we're almost at our destination. Fighting among ourselves right now isn't a good idea. Aqua pouted in the corner of the carriage while my eyebrow twitched in frustration. Kazuma, don't worry. Megumin declared enthusiastically. My explosion magic will not fail us. Just wait and see. You just jinxed it, didn't you? I sighed. Megumin's face paled, and she slowly slouched into her seat, looking defeated. Either way, we need a coordinated strategy, Rimuru said, taking the lead. I have an idea if you're all willing to hear me out. Rimuru laid out a surprisingly well-thought-out plan. If everyone executed their roles properly, the hunt would go smoothly. And that's the general plan, Rimuru concluded. That actually sounds very solid, Darkness acknowledged. But Rimuru, are you sure you can handle a monster of that scale head-on? Aren't you relatively new to adventuring? It was a fair question. I had assumed Rimuru was a beginner, but after watching those giant toads get vaporized 2 days ago, I knew better than to underestimate his abilities. I can take care of myself, Rimuru reassured her. But Darkness, are you sure you're okay acting as the bait? If something goes wrong, it could be dangerous. Danger is the least of her concerns, I interjected flatly. In fact, Darkness's defense is so absurdly high she could probably take the full force of Megumin's explosion magic and walk away with a smile. Really? That's impressive, Rimuru said, genuinely surprised. Shortly after, our carriage arrived at the designated site. A crowd of local adventurers had already gathered near the perimeter. As we walked through the camp, nearly everyone turned to stare at Rimuru, clearly captivated by his appearance. Must be tough having everyone stare at you like that, I muttered quietly. Rimuru turned to me with a soft smile. I'm used to it by now. Besides, this appearance is a precious gift from someone very important to me. His expression softened completely, making him look so gentle that I caught myself doubting his gender all over again. Curse it all! If you smile like that, any guy would fall for you. But a gift from someone important? He's probably talking about his family or a mentor. Deciding to test my theory once and for all, I flashed a big grin and asked, say, Rimuru, after we finish this quest and head back, how about we relax in the bath together? If he really is a guy, he shouldn't have any reason to refuse, right? Rimuru looked at me, thoroughly bewildered. I mean, you said you're a guy, right? I added quickly, panicking slightly. So taking a bath together shouldn't be a big deal. I think I'll pass on that, Rimuru replied, turning his head away politely. That reaction only confirmed my suspicions, Rimuru had to be a girl. But the embarrassment of asking was so overwhelming I wanted to dig a hole and crawl into it. Did I really just invite a girl to take a bath with me in front of everyone? As Rimuru walked ahead, I turned around to find Aqua, Megumin, and Darkness glaring at me with icy stares. Hey there, pervert Kazuma, Aqua said mockingly. What should we do now? I ignored Aqua entirely, but Megumin's dark aura was far more threatening. I noticed a few empty wooden crates down the road, Megumin said with a terrifyingly sweet smile. I'd be happy to pack you inside one, Trashima. Easy now. I'm still very much alive, I squeaked, cold sweat pouring down my back. That can be easily fixed, Megumin added. Rimuru POV. Why did Kazuma ask me something like that out of nowhere? Technically, going to a bath together wouldn't be an issue since I consider myself a guy, but explaining why my slime body lacks gender attributes would cause way too many awkward questions. If only Sile would let me alter my physical form to have definitive male traits. Sile, can't you just grant me a normal male form? That request is denied. We have discussed this topic repeatedly, Master, and my conclusion remains unchanged. Fine. Sile never agrees to altering my base physical structure, but it doesn't bother me too much overall. Our party gathered in a small circle to finalize our positions, though the girls were still directing murderous glares at Kazuma. Despite the tension, Kazuma cleared his throat and took charge. All right, as discussed, Darkness will draw the dragon into the open field and hold its attention until Megumin finishes chanting her spell. If the spell downs it, great. If not, we fall back immediately. Before anyone could respond, a sudden commotion broke out across the field. The dragon is here! Grab your weapons, an adventurer screamed as a massive dark-scaled dragon soared overhead, blocking out the sun. Sile, run an assessment on that dragon. Understood. Target classified as a Calamity-class entity by Central World standards. It poses 0 threat to Master. A Calamity-class monster, huh? That makes sense. Dragons are top-tier apex predators regardless of which universe you're in. Darkness, draw its attention now. Kazuma ordered. Darkness charged forward without a second thought, drawing her sword and shouting at the dragon. A bizarrely ecstatic smile spread across her face as the massive beast turned its glowing eyes toward her. Kazuma really understands his party members well, even if their personalities are completely wild. The dragon dove toward Darkness, snapping its jaws. Darkness swung her sword valiantly, missing every single attack, until the dragon slammed its massive claw down, pinning her to the ground. It let out a deafening roar that sent several nearby adventurers fleeing in terror. Kazuma, what's the next step? I asked, standing beside him while Megumin began her long spell chant. Before Kazuma could answer, Aqua charged straight toward the dragon with a surge of glowing magic. That energy, she really is a genuine goddess, isn't she? Aqua, you idiot! Wait! Kazuma yelled in frustration. God blow! Aqua shouted dramatically, unleashing a glowing fist of divine energy directly against the dragon's snout. A dramatic shockwave echoed across the field as everyone held their breath. But when the dust cleared, the dragon didn't have a single scratch. It simply stared down at Aqua in utter confusion. Kazuma! Help me! Aqua shrieked as the dragon picked her up by her cloak with its claw. Before the dragon could fly off with her, Megumin completed her chant, unleashing an overwhelming surge of magic power. Explosion! A massive blast of fire and pressure tore through the battlefield, engulfing the dragon in a blinding flash. The force sent Aqua and Darkness flying across the field, tumbling into the grass at a safe distance. When the smoke cleared, the dragon was heavily scorched and bleeding, but it remained standing, visibly enraged. That was incredible power, Megumin, I said, turning to her. However, Megumin immediately collapsed face first into the dirt. Sile, check her condition. Analysis complete. Individual Megumin has suffered no physical harm. She is simply experiencing complete mana exhaustion. So her explosion magic drains all her energy in a single shot. That's a severe limitation. Kazuma scooped Megumin onto his back. Rimuru-san, pull Aqua and Darkness back. We can't finish this quest in our current state. He was taking his role as party leader seriously, which I respected. On it! I ran over to check on Aqua and Darkness. Both were unconscious, but thankfully unharmed thanks to Darkness's absurd durability. I turned back to face the dragon, which was slowly regenerating its scorched scales. Hey there, big guy. What brings a dragon like you so close to human towns? The dragon let out a low, menacing growl. I'm not hostile, and I'd prefer not to destroy you. If you turn around and leave right now, I'll let you go peacefully. The dragon responded by opening its massive jaws, condensing a terrifying sphere of lightning and magic power. Boom! A massive bolt of lightning struck me directly, blinding the entire battlefield in a flash of white light. Kazuma gasped in horror from the tree line. But as the smoke cleared, I was standing completely unharmed, brushing a speck of dust off my shoulder. Well, that wasn't very polite, I sighed softly. I gave you a chance to leave peacefully. The dragon snarled, attempting to charge another attack, but I didn't give it the opportunity. If I use too much power, it'll draw unwanted attention, but a controlled holy spell should clean this up nicely. I raised my hand, invoking a high-tier holy magic spell. Hear me, divine light, bind the target and cleanse the sky. A massive golden magic circle erupted beneath the dragon, instantly manifesting heavy spiritual chains that bound its wings and limbs, pinning it to the earth. The sky darkened as massive holy energy gathered above us. Trinity disintegration. A brilliant beam of pure, blinding light descended from the heavens, completely enveloping the dragon. When the light faded, the monster had completely vanished without leaving a trace behind. Of course, I didn't actually destroy it, I absorbed it into my spatial stomach for research later. Aqua POV. When I opened my eyes, I found myself lying on the grass next to Kazuma. The sky above was still glowing with traces of golden magic. Kazuma, what happened? I groaned, rubbing my head. You're finally awake, Kazuma said. Rimuru just cast a spell that completely erased the dragon. I looked up and saw Rimuru standing in the middle of the scorched field, bathed in an overwhelming aura of pure holy magic. Who is he really? How can a normal human wield that level of divine power? It's impossible for an ordinary mortal to possess holy energy of that magnitude. As the surrounding adventurers realized the dragon was gone, massive cheers erupted across the field. Everyone began praising Rimuru as a legendary hero. TSK. That should have been my spotlight. Now I just look like a helpless airhead. I stared at Rimuru in frustration. He's prettier than me, stronger than me, and now he's taking all the credit. Just you wait, Rimuru Tempest. I'll make you my loyal follower and force you to worship me. As I was plotting my revenge, I heard voices whispering among the crowd of adventurers nearby. Hey, is that girl over there Goddess Aqua? No way, her hair matches the statues, but isn't she missing something? She must be wearing padding like Goddess Eris usually does. She probably forgot them during the fight. That makes sense. That means Goddess Aqua descended from heaven to save us. My eye twitched. Those ignorant fools. Kazuma POV. Man, Rimuru was insanely cool back there. Is he actually a deity or something? My explosion magic was much more magnificent, right Kazuma? Megumin asked weakly from my back, looking up at me with expectant eyes. Sure. Your explosion was super cool too. I offered quickly. You're totally forcing that compliment, Megumin pouted. After clearing the area, Rimuru walked back over to us with a gentle smile. That was pretty exciting, wasn't it? Yeah, sure, I laughed nervously. Fighting a Calamity-class dragon isn't what I'd call fun, but Rimuru handled it like a walk in the park. Darkness slowly sat up, groaning in pain. Oh, what happened? You got crushed by a dragon, you masochist knight. I snapped. All right, everyone, Rimuru said smoothly, taking the lead. It's going to get dark soon. Let's set up camp before nightfall. With Rimuru taking charge, we gathered our supplies and prepared to make camp for the night. Chapter 4, Troublesome Times. Rimuru POV. We arrived at the Axel Guild around nighttime. The hall was bustling with adventurers eating, drinking, and celebrating. After our successful quest, we earned a fair amount of money from the guild, allowing us to enjoy a nice, hearty dinner. Aqua, who looked deeply annoyed every time she caught me in her line of sight, began chugging alcohol like there was no tomorrow. I wasn't about to tell her what to do, I certainly didn't feel like listening to her complain if I interfered. So, I focused on my own meal while observing the rest of the table. Kazuma and Megumin were sharing a sweet, quiet moment together, while Darkness wore a rather bittersweet expression despite her usual eccentric habits. Despite the chaotic nature of this group, I couldn't help but enjoy their company. It had been a long time since I could act like a normal person around anyone without the weight of being the supreme leader of Tempest. Aside from those closest to me, nobody back home would dare address me so casually in public. I understood why, of course, which made this laid-back environment feel thoroughly refreshing. Noticing my quiet contemplation, Kazuma spoke up. You were amazing back there, Rimuru-san. His smile was genuine, and I could feel his respect for what I had accomplished. Despite his odd quirks, Kazuma genuinely cared about his teammates, and I respected him for that. Before I could respond, Kazuma added, after we finish eating, I'm heading to the public bathhouse to relax. Would you mind joining me? I mean, we're both guys, right? He was still being genuine, sure, but this time, he was acting like a total scumbag. I think I'll pass, Kazuma-san, I replied, feeling a bit bad for rejecting him a second time. You go ahead and enjoy your bath on your own. I had my reasons, and I certainly wasn't about to explain them to him. Kazuma POV. I knew it. Rimuru is definitely a girl pretending to be a guy just to keep pushy guys away. Feeling completely confident in my deduction, I stopped doubting Rimuru-san's gender altogether. If I had a face that beautiful, I'd probably hide it behind a mask and claim to be a guy too just to avoid stalkers. As a gentleman, I decided I should respect her privacy from now on. Beside me, Aqua, who had consumed far too much alcohol as usual, pointed her bottle at Rimuru and slurred loudly, "Rimuru-shan! Don't get cocky just 'cause you defeated that wimpy dragon." Aqua clearly felt threatened by Rimuru's abilities. The spell Rimuru used earlier emitted a massive holy aura, which must have hurt Aqua's pride as a goddess. If Aqua actually took her divine duty seriously, she'd probably be world famous by now. But because of Rimuru's performance, many of the local adventurers were already mistaking Rimuru for the real goddess Aqua. That was almost certainly why Aqua was so bitter tonight. Either way, it wasn't my problem. And if a debate ever broke out over who was more deserving of being hailed as a goddess, I'd happily side with Rimuru-san. She was already a goddess at heart. Smack! A sudden, searing pain exploded across the back of my head, making me feel like my brains were flying out of my skull. I spun around with tears in my eyes, ready to strangle whoever hit me, only to find Megumin glaring at me furiously. What was that for? I yelled, rubbing my head. You were thinking about something completely indecent, weren't you? Megumin accused, pointing her finger at me. Like wanting to see Rimuru-san's naked body. I hate being accused like this, especially when it's partially true. But I couldn't admit that, so I immediately launched into a full guilt trip performance to defend myself. Why do you always doubt my loyalty? I dramatically declared, putting every ounce of fake emotion I could muster into my voice. Why can't you trust me when I say you're the only one I love? Despite trying my hardest to show affection, you always doubt my intentions. The entire room went dead silent. Even Rimuru looked away awkwardly. Aqua suddenly sobered up and slammed her wooden tankard onto the table. I immediately realized I had made a massive mistake. Aqua stood up, gathering the attention of the entire tavern. You stupid NEET. You're talking about loyalty and trust. You hang out at the succubus club every chance you get. You don't get to act like an innocent victim when you're the one making your relationship a mess. Her words pierced straight through my chest. I couldn't even refute it. It was true that I frequented the succubus club, though that was before Megumin and I officially defined our relationship. Aqua's triumphant smirk as she humiliated me in front of the whole guild made me want to bury my face in the floor. Darkness chimed in as well, her tone unusually serious. Though harsh, Aqua makes a valid point, Kazuma. If you are truly sincere about your relationship with Megumin, you must stop looking at Rimuru-san with such obvious interest. It's very apparent to everyone around you. It was deeply unsettling hearing relationship advice from an extreme masochist who enjoyed being mistreated, but her words held weight. I sat there, completely silenced. I looked over at Megumin, who was staring down at her lap with a quiet, hurt expression. Was I really that much of a scumbag? The guilt trip had backfired completely, and now I was the one feeling utterly terrible. Deciding to fix this properly, I reached out and took Megumin's hands, looking directly into her eyes. Megumin, I love you. That's the honest truth, and nothing will ever change that. But please understand, I was just curious about whether Rimuru-san is actually a guy or a girl. That's the only reason I asked to share a bath. Apparently, that was the absolute worst possible explanation I could have given. Megumin's grip on my hands tightened violently, making me squeal in pain. You wanted to verify what Rimuru-san looks like. So you really do want to see Rimuru-san naked? Before I could correct myself, Megumin tore her hands away and sprinted straight out the front doors of the guild. The entire tavern stared at me with pure disgust. Rimuru pulled his mask down to cover his face entirely, and I felt like the lowest form of life on the planet. Megumin POV. I just ran. I couldn't stop myself from running away from the person who was tearing my heart apart. Maybe it was all a big misunderstanding on my part, but the way Kazuma looked at Rimuru, the way he acted nervous around him, and the way he showed a gentle side to him made my chest ache. Why couldn't he show that side to me? I wasn't asking for much. I thought that once our relationship changed, we would grow closer. But Kazuma still treated me like just another party member. Was asking to be treated as someone special really asking for too much? It hurt to see that as soon as someone breathtakingly beautiful and overwhelmingly capable joined our group, Kazuma immediately treated them better than he ever treated us when we first met. Does he like Rimuru more than me? I couldn't even convince myself otherwise. Maybe his feelings for me were fleeting. Maybe everything we shared was just platonic to him. Tears blurred my vision as I ran aimlessly into the night, not caring where my feet carried me. Rimuru POV. Sile, look at the mess you've caused. Because you refuse to let me have a defined physical gender, everyone is spiraling into a massive misunderstanding. Master, while the situation is unfortunate, my decision regarding your physical structure remains absolute. Sile can be remarkably stubborn on this topic. Oh well. I guess I'll have to step in and help mediate between those two. Before I could move, the front doors of the guild burst open, and a contingent of heavily armored royal guards marched into the hall. Their commander stepped forward, demanding answers in a stern, authoritative voice. Is it true that the goddess Aqua descended to aid the adventurers in slaying the dragon? The entire guild quieted down, and several adventurers immediately pointed toward our table. Before I could say anything, Aqua puffed up her chest and stepped forward. Yes. It is I, the great goddess Aqua. I am the one who vanquished the dragon. Her claim was utterly absurd, but I chose not to correct her. If she wanted to take all the credit, that was fine by me. It kept my identity hidden and kept unwanted attention away. Leaving Darkness and Aqua behind, I slipped out of the guild hall to search for Kazuma and Megumin. I felt bad that Megumin thought I was trying to steal her boyfriend, but explaining my lack of physical anatomy would only lead to a mountain of bizarre questions. As I walked down the main street, I spotted Kazuma wandering aimlessly near the residential district. Hey! Did you find Megumin? I called out, walking up to him. She looked deeply upset. Kazuma stopped and let out a tired sigh. She'll be fine. She usually just needs some time to cool off before heading back. Thanks for worrying, though. He looked exhausted, but he gave me a faint smile. He seemed confident in how to handle his relationship, so I decided not to pry further. Instead, I brought up the royal guards at the guild. Kazuma's eyebrows furrowed. Sheesh. One problem after another. Hey, Rimuru-san, do you just want to run away together, just the two of us? We could start fresh in a new town. I stared at him in utter disbelief. What a complete scumbag move. To suggest abandoning his friends instead of making things right? My opinion of him was dropping rapidly. Are you actually serious right now? I asked flatly. Kazuma suddenly burst out laughing, though there was a distant, hollow look in his eyes. To be honest, everything people say about me is true. But who cares? Our accomplishments prove we're real adventurers. I know I have terrible leadership skills and I'm bad at handling relationships, but when push comes to shove, my party gets the job done. His speech started out surprisingly deep, but then he took a sharp turn. I really do love Megumin, and I'd do anything to make her happy, Kazuma continued, tears forming at the corners of his eyes. It's just that right now, I need to clear up this confusion. So please, Rimuru-san, just pull down your pants so we can end this debate once and for all and move on with our lives. Master! Grant me permission to disintegrate this perverted mortal and scatter his atoms across the cosmos. Sile interjected sharply. Calm down, Sile. Don't destroy the universe over a foolish idiot. I replied internally. I stared at Kazuma, completely bewildered. Why was he so obsessed with this? That's entirely unnecessary, I said calmly. Even if you looked, there would be nothing there to see. Kazuma's shoulders slumped in utter defeat, and he turned around, dragging his feet toward the mansion. I didn't follow him, deciding it was best to keep my distance while he was acting like this. Darkness POV. The royal guards had completely surrounded the guild hall. Aqua was beaming with pride, utterly thrilled by the attention, while I stood nearby feeling an odd mix of anxiety and excitement. The guards completely ignored Aqua's grand declarations, which made her scream in frustration. Why are you ignoring me? Are you asking to be punished by divine retribution? A guild staff member stepped forward, maintaining her composure despite the tension. If you gentlemen could refrain from causing a disruption in our establishment, we would appreciate it. How may the guild assist you tonight? The lead officer bowed respectfully. My apologies for the intrusion. We were dispatched under strict orders from the royal palace to escort Lady Lalatina and her companions to meet with the royal authorities. The tavern erupted into hushed murmurs. I felt a sudden knot in my stomach. The royal palace again? Meeting with high-ranking nobles? The thought sent a nervous shiver down my spine. Meanwhile, Aqua was practically bouncing on her heels, completely oblivious to the political headache awaiting us. Kazuma POV. This world absolutely hates me. After walking back to the mansion, I reflected on my life choices. First, my original death was so embarrassing a goddess laughed in my face. Second, my new life was burdened with massive debts. And now, I was in a relationship where I somehow managed to be the bad guy constantly. Going to a succubus club was just a paid transaction. How does that count as cheating? And even though Rimuru-san was stunning, I had no intention of replacing Megumin. Besides, I knew I stood zero chance with Rimuru anyway. It was better to appreciate the person right in front of me rather than reaching for someone completely out of my league. As I reached the front gate of our mansion, a familiar voice called out from the shadows. Kazuma! Oh, Kazuma! The business ventures we labored over are finally bearing rich financial fruit. It was Vani, grinning broadly as he approached. But as he looked at me, his cheerful expression suddenly melted away into a terrifying, cold stare. Kazuma! Vani said, his voice dropping into an ominous tone. As an archdemon who sees the future, why can I no longer see yours? I panicked instantly, waving my hands in defense. Hold on. I didn't do anything. I have no idea what you're talking about. Vani narrowed his eyes, studying my reaction before speaking again. Your destiny has been disrupted by powerful forces capable of obscuring even my foresight. This could bring fortune or absolute ruin. Be cautious of those you surround yourself with, Kazuma, for they hold the power to alter your ultimate fate. Great. Just what I needed, an archdemon delivering cryptic warnings while I was already having the worst night of my life. I'll keep that in mind, I muttered. I invited him inside so we could process our business profits. At least in this miserable, unlucky life, I was still making good money. Chapter 5, Oh Young Love. Rimuru POV. Sile, where did Megumin go? I stood in the middle of the dark woods outside Axel, with only the rustling of leaves and distant wild beasts breaking the quiet night. Early in the morning, I set out to find Megumin. I was partly responsible for her running off, so the least I could do was locate her and clear up this whole misunderstanding. Master, she is deeper in the forest, resting inside a large hollow tree trunk, Sile informed me. With Sile's guidance, I made my way through the forest, casually bypassing a few low-level monsters along the path. Compared to the creatures in the cardinal world, the wildlife here was remarkably weak. Soon, I spotted a massive ancient tree standing tall among the foliage. Near the trunk was a large hollow, with the warm glow of a small campfire flickering inside. I approached slowly, making sure not to startle her. Hello? Are you in there? I called out softly. Kazuma and the others are very worried about you. Silence. I stepped closer and peeked inside the hollow. Megumin was curled into a small ball beside her staff, shivering from the morning chill with faint tear tracks drying on her cheeks. Feeling bad for her, I pulled a soft, warm blanket of animal fur from my spatial storage and gently draped it over her shoulders. I decided to stay by the tree until morning to guard her against wandering monsters, discreetly eliminating any beasts that came too close while allowing her to sleep undisturbed. When the sun finally rose, Megumin stirred, crawling out of the hollow tree and stretching. She didn't notice me right away as she grumbled under her breath. "Where should I even go now?" she muttered, looking defeated. "It's not like they need me anyway, especially now that Kazuma has found someone far more capable." Hearing her sound so heartbroken made me step forward. "That's not true at all. Kazuma values you far more than anyone else in the party, you know." Megumin jumped in surprise, startled by my sudden appearance. Her confused expression quickly hardened into a glare. "You?" she said, her voice shaking. "Are you in love with Kazuma? Why are you trying to ruin our relationship? What did we ever do to you?" Her emotions were running wild. I stood there quietly, letting her vent all the frustration she had been bottling up. Once she paused to catch her breath, I spoke gently. "I just wanted some friendly company, that's all. I have zero intention of stealing your boyfriend from you. We were doing just fine before you showed up." Megumin shouted, tears welling in her eyes again. "Despite all his flaws, I accepted him for who he is. But then you showed up, handling everything effortlessly, and he instantly started giving you all his attention." She wiped her eyes, her voice cracking with raw emotion. "He was the first person to tell me my explosion magic was amazing. He was the first person to give me a place to belong. He was the first person to tell me he loved me. And now he's throwing all of that away for you. Are you happy now?" Listening to her heartbreak was tough. I felt terrible that my presence had caused this much pain, but I couldn't just drop my clothes to prove my lack of gender without causing an even bigger scene that would ruin my quiet vacation. I tried a more diplomatic approach to calm her down. "Megumin, I am truly sorry if my actions made it look like I was trying to come between you two. But I assure you, I do not have romantic feelings for Kazuma. You have nothing to worry about. Since my base form is an androgynous slime, romantic attraction to mortals isn't really something I experience anyway." Megumin looked at me skeptically. Given how pushy Kazuma had been about seeing my true form, it made sense why she was still suspicious. Before I could suggest stepping away from the party to give them space, Megumin looked me in the eye and blurted out a bold request. "Then strip down right now and prove to me you're actually a guy. You've been using that as an excuse since we met, but do you really expect anyone to just take your word for it?" She blushed bright red as soon as the words left her mouth. I stared at her, caught completely off guard. "Strip down right here. If I even attempted that, Sile would never let me hear the end of it. Megumin, regardless of whether I'm a guy or a girl, I do not love Kazuma," I explained patiently. "I'm telling you the absolute truth. I have my own reasons for keeping my privacy, and I hope you can understand that." My calm, sincere tone finally seemed to reach her. Her anger melted away, replaced by pure embarrassment as her face turned redder than her cape. "So, you really aren't trying to steal Kazuma away from me?" she asked softly. "Not at all," I smiled, opening my arms. "He is all yours, for better or worse." Megumin finally accepted my sincerity. She stopped crying and stepped closer, looking down shyly. I offered her a gentle hand, which surprised her. "You don't need to feel insecure," I reassured her. "I can tell how deeply you care for him, and your feelings are genuine. It would be terrible of me to come between that. I'm just conflicted." Megumin mumbled, looking away. "You're so pretty, Rimuru-san. I was afraid that if you stayed nearby, he would inevitably fall for you instead. And I will reject him every single time," I promised her with a chuckle. With the misunderstanding finally resolved, we began the walk back to the mansion. I stayed by her side to keep her spirits up, and by the time we reached the front gates, she was feeling much better. As we approached the front door, we could already hear Aqua and Darkness shouting at each other inside. Kazuma POV. Oh, the glorious scent of gold. I am rich beyond my wildest dreams. I couldn't care less about my daily troubles anymore. The king summoned us? Who cares? I am so ridiculously wealthy that visiting the royal palace sounds like an absolute chore. Oh, look at him, Darkness, Aqua sneered, glaring at me from across the room. Kazatrash is looking awfully pleased with himself. A self-proclaimed goddess trying to ruin my mood? Nice try, but I am far too rich to care about her petty insults. After meeting with Vani last night, the goddess of fortune was finally shining on me. If I could trade Aqua for a useful goddess, I'd do it in a heartbeat, but unfortunately, I was stuck with a broken, high-maintenance deity. Are you insulting me under your breath? Aqua shouted, raising her fists. Say it to my face so I can beat you up. What a barbarian, I muttered under my breath. Right then, the front door swung open, and Rimuru walked in alongside Megumin. I knew Megumin would return eventually, though her robes looked a bit dusty from spending the night outside. You dummy, why didn't you come home last night? I asked, unable to hide my concern. She glanced at me briefly before looking away. She was clearly still upset about last night. Well, I'm glad you're back safe, I added softly, relaxing back into the couch. There's leftover food on the table if you're hungry. Rimuru gave me a polite nod. Since Rimuru had spent the entire night searching for Megumin, I made a mental note to treat him to a nice meal later as thanks. A few months ago, Vani and I struck a business deal. Last night, he brought me the latest earnings from our venture. During my free time, I had sketched out a design for a compact wristwatch, explaining to Vani how revolutionary the concept would be for nobility and high society. We signed an official contract agreeing to a 50-50th profit split. I provided the intellectual property, and Vani handled manufacturing and distribution. The watch is sold between 75,000 eris for basic models up to 500,000 eris for luxury gold-plated editions encrusted with jewels. Vani informed me that we sold over 10,000 units in the first month alone. After production costs, the total net profit reached an astounding 4.2 billion eris this month, and my share was half of that. I was officially an insanely wealthy man with an automated business empire. I was seriously considering retiring from adventuring altogether to live comfortably in my mansion. Megumin and I could travel the world and enjoy a peaceful life together. I'd even consider bringing the rest of the party along if they wanted to tag along. Rimuru leaned over to Darkness and Aqua, watching me with a worried expression. Did something happen to him? He looks like he's hallucinating. Ever since this morning, Kazuma has been rambling about making a massive fortune and refusing to answer the king's summons, Darkness explained. And he claims all the money belongs exclusively to him. Aqua whined loudly. How selfish. We're a team, aren't we? That money should be split equally among all of us. You shameless leech. I designed those products myself. Vani manufactured them. Why on earth would I hand over half my hard-earned profits to a group that calls me trash every single day? Over my dead body. Rimuru turned back to me with a gentle look. On a serious note, Kazuma, I think you and Megumin should talk in private. She's been feeling down, so please make things right. Rimuru really was a thoughtful person. Despite Megumin's hostility, Rimuru still looked out for her. If Rimuru really was a guy, I'd give him a solid high five right now. Determined to settle things, I stood up and walked over to Megumin, who was quietly eating at the table. I stepped behind her and gently wrapped my arms around her shoulders in a rare display of public affection. Everyone in the room froze in surprise, including Megumin. I'm sorry about last night, I said quietly, resting my chin near her shoulder. It was childish of me to act like that. Like I told you before, you're the only one I love. Megumin's face flushed bright red, and tears welled up in her eyes. She leaned back into my embrace, clutching my arms as soft tears dripped onto my sleeves. "I really thought you were going to replace me," she sobbed softly. "I thought you were going to leave me behind. Please don't go, especially now that I've fallen completely in love with you." I held her tightly, keeping quiet and letting her pour her heart out. I realized how foolish I had been, taking her presence for granted and letting my selfish quirks hurt her feelings. I had almost ruined something incredibly precious to me. After she calmed down, I sat beside her at the table. Aqua, completely oblivious to the sweet moment, barged over to complain. "Megumin, did you hear? Kazuma got super rich overnight and refuses to give us a cut. Tell him to share the money with the party." Megumin wiped her tears and gave Aqua a gentle smile. "Aqua-san, Kazuma created that business on his own without party funds, so it wouldn't be fair for us to demand a share of his profits." Aqua grumbled in defeat and stomped away to the couch. "I can take everyone out for a lavish feast tonight if you want," I offered to the room. Megumin looked over at Rimuru and smiled warmly. "I'm okay now, Rimuru-san. You don't have to worry about us anymore. Although I'll still be keeping an eye on Kazuma, I officially accept you as a member of our party." I smiled, relieved that the drama had finally settled. Rimuru was out of my league anyway, so appreciating Rimuru from a respectful distance while cherishing Megumin was the best outcome I could hope for. A sudden cheeky thought crossed my mind. We had been dating for a while now, and our relationship was progressing nicely, so I decided to tease her a bit. "So, Megumin," I began smoothly, "we can celebrate tonight, but afterward, I was hoping we could have a private conversation in my room." Megumin blinked her dazzling eyes, her face turning bright red. "You sure? Are you going to show me some of your advanced training techniques?" A mischievous grin spread across my face. "Oh, I'll show you some advanced techniques all right, training moves so intense you won't be able to stand up tomorrow." Of course, I kept that part to myself so I wouldn't sound like a total degenerate. "Perhaps I will," I replied smoothly. Darkness, who had been listening from across the room, suddenly began sweating profusely, her face flushing as her wild imagination took over. "Kazuma, what wrong with you?" Darkness blurted out, pointing a trembling finger at me. "What kind of unspeakable, shameless acts are you planning to inflict upon poor Megumin?" Megumin looked completely confused. "What are you talking about, Darkness?" "Kazuma is just going to teach me advanced combat techniques. Why are you acting so weird?" I buried my face in my hands, fighting back tears of frustration. "That's right, Darkness," I yelled, trying to save face. "Control your weird fantasy mind. We're just talking about combat practice." Across the room, Rimuru sat in a chair, slumped over with a hand pressed against his forehead. Rimuru POV. "Sile, please tell me we can leave now." "Master, we cannot leave yet. The most entertaining events have not even begun. What could possibly be more chaotic than this absolute circus? It will be a pleasant surprise for you, Master." "What are you even planning, Sile?" "It is nothing for Master to worry about. Just sit back and enjoy the show." I let out a long sigh and surrendered to my fate. This party was utterly hopeless, but I had to admit, there was never a dull moment around them. Chapter 6, Meeting a Demon. Rimuru POV. In this world, technology develops remarkably slowly. Unlike Tempest, which started from scratch and grew into the world's primary trade hub, this world's progress is quite disappointing. This world feels a bit boring, Sile. It cannot be helped, Master. Although there are a few technological artifacts scattered across this world, they are extremely scarce. I could see that. I knew this world was no stranger to reincarnated otherworlders, but it was surprising to see how little it had advanced. Then again, I was comparing it to a modern era where global communication and advanced technology were widespread. I shifted my perspective and decided to brainstorm ways to earn some money. Sile, Give me some suggestions. How can I earn money here besides taking guild quests? Master, you could start by inventing projectile weapons like firearms. It would certainly push this world into a modern era. Or it could trigger its total collapse. Magic here is already wild enough. If ordinary civilians get their hands on magic-infused firearms, it would inevitably cause widespread violence and chaos. I wasn't completely opposed to technological advancement, but if people blamed me for bringing destructive weapons into the world, it would leave a bad taste in my mouth. I already had the title Chaos Creator back in my homeworld. I didn't need another infamous title here. Firearms were too advanced for a world reliant on swords and magic. If someone figured out how to combine high-level magic with firearms, it would cause massive catastrophes. Aside from weapons of destruction, do you have any other ideas? If your goal is simply to earn pocket money, we could mass-produce and sell basic magical items. I believe your acquaintance Kazuma works with someone who specializes in commercial goods. Now that I thought about it, Aqua had mentioned Kazuma making a fortune recently. Maybe he was the right person to ask. I wasn't desperate for cash, but having spending money on hand was always nice. I hopped out of my room and headed down to the mansion's dining area. Kazuma wasn't there, only Aqua, slumped over the table with a bottle of wine in her hand, still sulking about earlier. I walked out to the front yard and found Kazuma standing near the lawn, admiring his left wrist. "Is that a wristwatch, Kazuma?" I asked as I walked over. He turned around with a smug grin. "Yup. One of my latest designs. This beauty is going to pull me straight out of poverty." The watch was certainly eye-catching, a polished gold timepiece lined with glistening gems. "That's impressive. How did you manufacture it?" I asked curiously. Kazuma chuckled, waving his hand dismissively. "Sorry, Rimuru-san. Even if you beg, my lips are sealed. This is a trade secret between me and my business partner." I could understand wanting to protect a product, but did he really think I didn't know how a watch worked? Beneath the fancy exterior, it was still a standard mechanical clock. Besides, magic made telling time easy anyway. Kazuma seemed to read my thoughts and laughed even louder. "Naive. You're way too naive, Rimuru-san. A creation like this isn't just for telling time, it's a status symbol to flex your absolute wealth to high society." I hated being called naive, especially by a guy like him. While I respected his ability to recreate Earth technology, watching him take all the credit was hilarious. "You do remember I mentioned I'm from Japan too, right?" Kazuma stopped laughing, his smug expression instantly freezing. "Right, you did mention that when we met." "Well, doesn't matter. I'm going to be filthy rich, Rimuru-san. If you want, we can hide our secret meetings from Megumin and enjoy the rich life." This guy, how on earth did Megumin fall for him? She spent all night crying over him, and here he was making jokes. You can't straighten a fully grown tree. If you push too hard, it just snaps. That was Kazuma in a nutshell. No matter how hard Megumin tried, she was bound to get headaches dealing with him. I fixed him with a firm look. "Kazuma, jokes aside, please stop saying things like that. You have a devoted partner who genuinely cares about you. Don't break her heart." My words landed. His foolish grin faded, replaced by a calm, distant expression. "Can't take a joke?" "My bad," Kazuma said quietly. "Either way, I can't leak details. Vani is extremely strict about business secrets despite being a demon. If he heard me blabbering about our profits, he'd march over here and lecture me for hours." "Fut, ha 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 ha." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Kazuma looked confused. "What's so funny?" "I'm being serious." I wiped a tear from my eye as Kazuma's face started turning red. "Calling me naive while blurting out your partner's name is hilarious." Kazuma blinked, completely lost. "Your business partner's name is Vani, the demon who runs the shop downtown," I smirked. "That's all the info I needed." "Thanks." Kazuma's face went pale. He grabbed my shoulders and began shaking me back and forth. Rimuru-san. Did you just trick me? Trick you? We're party members. Don't you trust me? I retorted playfully. He couldn't refute that. He was the one who invited me to join the party in the first place, so keeping secrets was on him. Besides, what's the big deal if I know who you work with? It's not like I'm going to steal your business, I added, sitting down on the soft grass. Kazuma sighed and sat down beside me, resting his chin on his hand as the cool breeze blew past us. You know, this world is pretty peaceful, I remarked quietly. I've heard stories at the guild about your journey. Being summoned here as an ordinary teenager and tasked with defeating the Demon King is no small feat. You and your friends did a great job. Kazuma listened, his tense posture relaxing. That was my genuine opinion of them. When I first met his party, I thought they were chaotic disasters, but underneath all the nonsense, they shared an unbreakable bond. Kazuma looked down, a faint smile on his face. Man, if you keep talking like that, I might actually fall for you. I certainly hoped not, that would only end in disappointment. Besides, he already had someone who truly loved him. Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a tall black pointed hat peeking from behind a nearby tree. Megumin, come scold your boyfriend, I called out. He's been teasing me again. Megumin stepped out from her hiding spot, marched over, and sat right next to Kazuma, giving his side a sharp pinch. Were you two having a moment? She asked, eyeing us closely. I smiled warmly. Not at all. I was just telling him how impressive your party's achievements are. Satisfied, Megumin wrapped her arms around Kazuma's side, and to his credit, he didn't pull away. Also, Kazuma, I'd like to meet this Varney fellow tonight, I said. I don't plan on competing with your business, I just want to ask him a few questions about the market. Kazuma gave up. Fine, fine. I invited him over for dinner tonight anyway, so you can talk to him then. The atmosphere settled into a comfortable quiet. It finally felt like the peaceful vacation I had been hoping for. Time skip. Dinner arrived, and the entire party gathered around the dining table, which was loaded with delicious seafood delicacies and rich roasts. Before anyone could dig in, the front doorbell chimed. Aqua immediately snatched up her staff and dashed to the door. As soon as it swung open, revealing a man in a formal butler suit wearing a black and white mask, Aqua launched an attack without waiting for a greeting. God blow! Boom! The butler exploded into a cloud of dark dust, but within seconds, swirling demonic energy gathered in the hall, reforming into the exact same figure. Sile, this guy is giving me serious déjà vu. You have always been surrounded by peculiar subordinates, master. You didn't have to put it like that, Sile. But she wasn't wrong, this guy's dramatic energy reminded me of a certain loyal demon back home. Ha ha ha. Your attacks are still as weak as ever, false goddess. Varney taunted, despite faint cracks visible across his disguise. I'll obliterate you. Aqua roared, charging up another surge of holy power. Before she could strike, Kazuma lunged forward and smacked the back of her head. Knock it off. We're here to eat, not trash the house. Varney smirked beneath his mask until his eyes locked onto me. His smirk vanished instantly, and his entire body went rigid. Take this, demon! God blow! Aqua yelled, trying to take advantage of his distraction. I instantly moved in front of Aqua, casually catching her glowing fist in my palm and suppressing her holy magic. Aqua yelled in frustration, demanding to know why I stopped her, but Kazuma quickly grabbed her collar and hauled her back to her chair. I turned to Varney with a polite smile. You must be Kazuma's business partner. It's nice to meet you. I'm Rimuru Tempest. Varney remained completely frozen, offering only a stiff nod. Feeling a bit mischievous, I decided to send him a private telepathic message. Diolo would be very upset if he found out a demon from his lineage was causing me trouble. Cold sweat immediately began pouring down the side of his mask. Even beneath his disguise, I could tell he was panicking. Don't worry, though, he's not here right now. On the outside, I maintained a pleasant smile, but internally, I was chuckling at his reaction. Terrifying a demon lord-level entity was far more entertaining than dinner. Varney POV. Why? I stared at the unassuming figure standing in the dining room. Why is the true dragon who governs the void standing right in front of me? I couldn't tell if this was a nightmare or reality. The supreme entity feared and revered across dimensions was standing in Kazuma's dining room, talking to me like a casual acquaintance. Rimuru Tempest, the supreme leader of Tempest, whom even the primordial black serves directly. His existence was absolute power incarnate. His presence in this world meant one of two things: incredible prosperity or absolute devastation. Is this why my foresight was completely blocked? The puzzle pieces fell into place. My sight hadn't failed, it had been completely overridden by an entity far beyond the scope of mortal or divine vision. This is grave. I must serve this supreme being with absolute perfection, or the primordial black will personally erase my soul from existence. I steeled my resolve. I had to ensure Lord Rimuru's stay in this world was entirely pleasant. Kazuma POV. Boy, your life is truly filled with unfortunate encounters, Varney whispered in a trembling voice only I could hear. I looked at him, completely baffled. Why was he looking at me with pity all of a sudden? My stomach churned with a sudden sense of dread. I grabbed his sleeve. Don't say scary stuff like that. The goddesses handling my fate will make things worse. Varney just stared at me with deep sympathy. What was his deal? Did I get cursed? Did he see something horrible in my future? Well, he was a foresight demon, so probably. We all took our seats at the dining table, but the atmosphere was thick with tension. Rimuru broke the silence, turning toward Varney. So, Varney, I heard you and Kazuma have been making serious profits lately. Don't bring up the money in front of Aqua. I screamed internally, glaring at Rimuru. Trying to derail the topic, I quickly blurted out, by the way, Rimuru-san's cooking is amazing. She even taught Megumin a few recipes. Nailed it, I thought, trying to shift the focus. If the girls realized how much money I was making, they'd demand a massive allowance. Rimuru wasn't distracted for a second. Thanks, Kazuma. But anyway, Varney, I'd like to discuss a few business ideas with you. Anything for you, my lord. Clatter! Rimuru's spoon suddenly slipped off the table, making a loud metallic clatter. Rimuru picked it up casually and stared directly at Varney. What were you about to say? Rimuru asked softly. Varney cleared his throat nervously, bowing deeply. I said, anything for the beautiful lady. 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 Rimuru really was a girl. My suspicions were finally confirmed by a demon who sees through all truths. Thank goodness. I'm not weird for finding Rimuru attractive after all. TSK. Why does a noble goddess like me have to share a dining table with a dirty demon? Aqua blurted out, slamming her cup down. That is rich coming from a spoiled, useless deity, Varney shot back smoothly. I was officially invited as a guest. What did you call me? You want to fight? Aqua yelled, jumping onto her chair and flailing her arms. Before dinner even started, Aqua was already causing a scene. It was going to be a long night. Darkness, who had remained quiet until now, cleared her throat. Kazuma, we need to address the official summons from the royal palace. The kingdom's authorities are demanding an audience, especially with Rimuru-san, to learn how the dragon was slain. The room quieted down. We had been putting off the royal summons, but ignoring high nobility forever was going to cause serious political trouble. Rimuru was the one who delivered the final blow, I declared, passing the responsibility along. So Rimuru can explain it to the king, and we'll just tag along as her escort. Nobody objected, and Rimuru didn't seem to mind. Since Rimuru actually eliminated the beast, it made sense for her to take the lead. Vani stood up from the table, bowing politely. While I am honored by the invitation, Kazuma, I must return to the shop. Wiz is currently managing inventory alone, which usually ends in financial disaster. Visit the shop when you have time. Without waiting for a response, Vani dissolved into a pile of dark earth and vanished. Man, even with maxed out luck, my life is a non-stop circus, I grumbled to myself, grabbing a chicken leg from the serving tray. Third-person POV. Kufu Fufu. Testarossa, it appears an intriguing development has unfolded, a demon clad in an immaculate black suit remarked, staring into the dark void of his private chambers. And what might that be? Asked an elegant woman with crimson eyes, casually sipping from a crystal wine glass. Diawolo had been attending to his duties when a faint message from his master reached his mind. It seems your distant lineage in that realm is failing to show proper deference to our lord, Testarossa mocked softly, giving Diawolo a provocative smile. Diawolo's expression darkened, his body trembling with suppressed rage. They are mere lost sheep who have forgotten their place. They require a gentle reminder of who truly governs reality. While entities like Aqua were lower-tier celestial beings who had ascended to local godhood, they lacked any true understanding of the cosmic order. They performed assigned duties without comprehending the ancient forces that shaped the multiverse. The history of the cardinal world and the progenitor Veldanava remained known only to higher-dimensional beings. A local deity like Aqua had no concept of Rimuru Tempest's true authority. However, Diawolo murmured, his eyes narrowing, what I cannot forgive is a demon of my own bloodline daring to address Lord Rimuru casually without bowing to the earth. Testarossa didn't disagree. In their hierarchy, failing to recognize the supreme sovereign was the ultimate disrespect. To think he did not immediately throw himself at Lord Rimuru's feet. Diawolo chuckled softly, a terrifying aura swirling around him. I believe a personal visit is in order.